I mean, come on. It's a Jeep with a V8. Oh my God. It's ridiculous. What is up, guys? Yes, the title is correct. We now have a Wrangler 392 on the channel. I'm super pumped about it because it is awesome. So first thing that I wanted to do is kind of go over the specs of this particular one, and then we'll kind of dive into some of the things that make this different than a regular Wrangler, aside from obviously the 392 cubic inch V8. So as far as the spec goes, the color is called Hydro Blue, and it is a $245 option. Now, that doesn't really mean a whole lot, simply because every color is a $245 option except for white, I believe. You guys see the hood there. And there's really not a whole lot of options to pick. It comes from the factory with basically being fully loaded. Now, there are a few options. One of them, if we go to the front here, is the forward-facing camera that you can use for off-roading, or I guess if you're worried about parking and bumping into things. There's also the trailer package, which gives you obviously the class 2 receiver as well as the auxiliary switches inside the Jeep. Also, there's one option that I didn't realize was even an option until I ordered it, which is the windshield you can now get in Gorilla Glass, which I didn't know about, and it's a $95 option. So I was like, that definitely makes a whole lot of sense to do, and you can get like a little Gorilla on the glass, which is pretty sweet. So for 95 bucks, I figured, why not? Now, that's not necessarily exclusive to the 392, but definitely a sweet option. The other option, obviously, you guys can get half doors. I don't really feel like spending $4 grand for some doors that I would never use, so I didn't get those. And I played back and forth with maybe getting the Power One Touch top, but, you know, knowing that I go on road trips, and basically, if you guys have been following the channel for a while, you guys know that to go off-road, I basically have to do at minimum a 4-hour drive one way, and I just didn't really know if I'd appreciate having that extra wind noise, so didn't go with that. But as far as options go, that's really basically it. You know, there's not really a whole lot of, like I said, a whole lot of options that you can get on the inside of the Wrangler. Basically everything comes standard. You know, it comes with an automatic. There's no option for a manual. It comes with leather seats, comes with the upgraded sound system. As you guys can see, the interior is definitely very nice. It's fairly similar to what a loaded non-392 would be. So yeah, guys, that's basically the spec of the Jeep. Obviously, there's no different wheels. You get bead locks, and the 33 KO2s standard. Now what we're gonna do is just kind of talk about what are some of the differences between this and a regular Jeep, or for example, like my two-door JL, which, yes, don't worry, it's still around. I'm sure some of you guys might be freaking out. Don't worry, it's still around. We'll go over some of the things that are different from this to, say, like my Wrangler and just a regular Wrangler in general, other than obviously the beast of the 392. Okay, so for those of you who aren't familiar with the Wrangler 392, this is the most, and we'll get to why I'm back here in a second, but this is the most powerful production Wrangler Jeep has ever made. It's a 392 cubic inch or 6.4 liter V8, same one from the Charger Scat Pack and Challenger Scat Pack, has 470 horsepower, 470 pound-feet of torque, does 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds. It is also the heaviest Wrangler they've made, and aside from being the most powerful, it is the fastest Wrangler they've ever made. So you would think, okay, they definitely upgraded the brakes to make sure that they'd slow it down, and they did. In the rear, it's 0.2 inches larger than a regular Wrangler, so, which to me is just funny. I thought I'd point that out because it's just kind of classic Mopar where they're just like stuff a big engine in it, and then, I mean, I guess we can throw on some brakes. But that is one thing that is different compared to a regular Wrangler. So some of the other stuff that is different is if you look here at the front, so compared to my two-door JL, this Wrangler has like this like kind of chrome slash like raw aluminum looking sway bar end link, whereas mine are black, so it's just a little bit different there. And then obviously the 392 has specifically tuned suspension and larger Fox shocks as standard, because this is about 500 pounds heavier, I believe, compared to a regular Wrangler Unlimited. This suspension has been specifically tuned for that extra weight and for this vehicle, which is nice. Also, some of the other differences you might notice is the shift, or this drive shaft boot right here looks a lot different than the one on my Wrangler. I have to look to double check, but I'm sure that is also one of the differences here as well. And just things around here just look a little beefier. Obviously, they did a lot of work on this vehicle. They didn't just throw in a V8 and just, all right, go to town. They actually rearranged a lot of the components for the engine as well as the chassis. So the engine, they had to move like the alternator and things like that up a little bit higher, because obviously it's a Jeep. It's designed to do some water fording, as you guys see by the Hydroglide air intake. And they did a lot of chassis reinforcements, you know, to make sure it can handle the extra stress of A, the extra weight, and B, the torque that this thing puts out. I mean, 470 foot-pounds of torque is a lot. I mean, especially for a Jeep. Like, this thing, you don't need this engine in this thing, but it is fantastic. It is awesome. Then obviously you get the beadlock capable wheels, which is different than most other standard Wranglers. They don't come with that, and it does technically have a 1-inch lift, but if you check the ground clearance, they technically say it's the same. But trust me, you can tell these 33s look a little small, and I'm almost certain, I've seen a few videos that you can put 37s on here without doing anything. So moving around the back, you've got this, the dual mode exhaust, which, as you guys have known, if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I had a Camaro 1LE and I currently have a C8 Corvette. This dual mode exhaust has the biggest difference from regular to like exhaust valves open of any car. This, you can hear it immediately. It is wild, and it's nice that it actually makes it quiet. It's not just kind of quiet. So when you're driving around and you turn that button off, silent. It's amazing. And obviously one of the other mechanical bits is this doesn't use the same like four-wheel drive system that the regular Rubicon uses. Like, again, in my two-door, it's a full-time four-wheel drive system. There is no two-wheel drive high, and the axle ratio is also different. You don't get a 410, you get a 373, which I don't think you would need a 410. This thing has, you know, 200 pound-feet of torque more than the V6, so I don't think it's needed. But maybe when you throw on 40s or larger tires, maybe you'll be like, well, I need the extra speed. Who knows? But so far, you don't notice it. But that is one of the other differences. But yeah, the part-time four-wheel drive doesn't feel the same as if like you put just your regular Jeep in like four-wheel drive high. You really don't notice it because it's supposed to be, from what I understand, a system that only engages when it detects wheel slip, which basically when you floor it from a dead stop, you hear a little chirp and then it just goes. It is wild. So now we're gonna hop inside, go for a drive, and we'll talk about some of the differences on the interior. I mean, that's like in a Jeep, like in a Wrangler, like what are we talking about? Alright, so while we're driving here, some of the differences on the interior versus a normal Wrangler. First thing that I noticed is the steering wheel. It is a lot thicker than a normal Wrangler wheel. The 10 and 2 notches are gigantic compared to the normal Wrangler, and just the entire wheel itself is thicker. You also get these perforated sections, kind of in the, from I'd say about 10 and 2 all the way down to about, I don't know, 4 and 8. And then obviously you get the paddles on the back as well. And the wheel is actually not completely round. It kind of angles off in certain areas. So that's the first thing I noticed. And I really love the steering wheel. It's fantastic. Yeah, you know, normally you wouldn't talk about stuff like that in a Jeep, but it's just really nice. One of the other differences, again, compared to a normal Wrangler, is like we talked about the paddles, but then the great thing about this thing is obviously this Jeep is the only Wrangler you can get with a active exhaust button, which replaces the auto stop start button, and that is awesome. It's basically just a gigantic middle finger to all the hybrids and, you know, electric cars and everything downsizing. It's just like, nope, V8, and I love that. I think that's great. And then some of the other differences. Now again, I'm not sure if this is because if you get this with other Wranglers that have like leather interior, but compared to like say my two-door, this section right here on the doors is just hard plastic. On this though, it's a softer, like kind of rubbery vinyl, which again, not something you necessarily notice until you put your arm there, and you can tell a difference after driving my two-door around for a few years. It's very nice. And obviously, like I pointed out earlier, you get on a normal Rubicon, you get a red dash. Here it's a metallic gray, which looks nice. Obviously, you get the 392 embroidered on the seat and the gold stitching everywhere, because this is supposed to be the gold standard of Jeep, which I like. I think it's good. I do wish that the dash would have been a different color, like maybe something like bronze, like in a matte bronze, or just to match the color. Like if you could have gotten blue on there, that would have been awesome. But that's a small little nitpick. And so obviously one of the other differences is this has paddle shifters, which work okay. I mean, it's fun to use, but like don't get in kind of like I did mistakenly. You know, I'm used to my dual clutch in the Corvette. It doesn't react anywhere near the same, to where like you kind of have to shift about 1,000 RPM to 500 RPM sooner than when you actually want, because by the time you've pressed the button and it actually shifts, it's continued to accelerate. So it's a little odd to get used to, but hey, they're paddle shifters in a Jeep. You can't complain too much. I mean, they do kind of what they're supposed to do. And then, I mean, in a Wrangler, like that is wild. It's so stupid, but it's great. I love it. It's awesome. It's so loud. Like it puts the Corvette to shame. It is so loud. And again, there are some other things that are different in here compared to say like a normal Wrangler. Like obviously I believe, I could be mistaken, but I believe this was a Wrangler that first had, you might be able to get it now on some other ones, but the off-road cruise control, which we'll have to see how that goes, because obviously I will be taking this thing off-road. But yeah guys, it is just driving wise, we'll do a full in-depth driving video at some point, but I'll just spoil it for you. It is the best Wrangler I've ever driven, full stop. Like, it is fantastic. It's basically a G-Wagon, but for real off-roaders. Like, it is wild. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you guys are excited to see this thing on the channel, because I am in love with this thing. And so obviously, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys want to see on this. Obviously, we're going to do some off-roading. We're going to do some trips in it. Is there anything specific you guys want to see? Leave a comment down below and let me know. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to give it a like and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.